Welcome back to the route description of the West Highland Way. This is part 6 and we're going to cover from Bridge of Orchy to Glencoe Ski Lodge. As I've done before, I'm going to split it up into 3 sections, and the first section goes from the checkpoint to the Forest Lodge, which is 3.16 miles and involves 551 feet of climb and 492 feet of descent. Basically, you leave the checkpoint where the bridge is. We have the checkpoint right at the bottom there. Now, if the weather's bad or you're near the back of the field, you may well be asked to make sure you've got your waterproofs with you. And the years that the weather's bad, then obviously this section's very exposed, so you really need waterproof. So the marshals will probably check with you that you've got your waterproofs, and if it's getting a bit later, you've got your head torch with you as well, because it could well be dark by the time you get to Glencoe. There's a climb up pretty well straight away from the checkpoint, and it's quite a narrow path, and it can get quite slippy and wet and muddy if the weather's been bad. Obviously, if it's been a dry summer, then it's fine. But quite a few years it is a bit wet, and it almost feels like you're walking through a little bit of a stream as you climb up. You go through a gate and then you get into the forest, and for the next half a mile or so it undulates a bit, so you get some little bbits up down and climbing on a nice sort of track, which is forest pines, that sort of needles type of thing. And then after about half a mile you come out of the forest and you're into a more exposed area. And the path is a bit more rocky then, and it sort of makes a big S shape as it climbs up to the top of the hill. At the very top there's a cairn which you don't actually go right past because the path is just a little bit to the left. But this area, this point now, has become famous for one person, and that is Murdo McEwen. A number of years ago, Murdo went up there with a big bag of jelly babies and started giving them out as runners went past, and he was there from the first runner all the way through to the last runner in his brightly coloured trousers. And this has become known now as Jelly Baby Hill. And once you get to Murdo, he offers you a jelly baby, and you can only have one each, and you can choose what colour you have. And it's great speculation about what colours the leading runners take, but it's great. And for a number of years, Peter Duggan has also joined him, and Peter's a great musician, and he has his penny whistle and plays as people come up if he's not running the race himself. So that's a bit of a delight for the race to meet Peter and Murdo on Jelly Baby Hill. Once you've gone past them, then it's pretty well all the way down to Overall and Hotel, and quite a zigzaggy path and runnable if your quads are okay. And this is where it really benefits, I think, if you take your time coming off Conic Hill and you don't thrash your quads, and you can run down from meeting Murdo on Jelly Baby Hill, then you know you're probably in for a decent run if you're able to run down that bit, because it's very runnable. It's a rocky path, but it's a very runnable. It's not too steep, and it gradually works its way down like a big zigzag, big S bend, and you get down. Once you get to the road, Overall and Hotel, you're on the road now for about 1.5 miles, and this is probably the longest road section that you've had for quite a while, probably since before Drimmen really. And some people quite like that, having a bit of road. Other people find it really sort of works on their legs, but it is pretty flat, and if you are able to run, then you're probably running most of this. There's a few little tiny rises, but basically it's quite a runnable 1.5 miles if you're still able to run and going well. And you go over a little bridge where there's a stream, and then you get to a gate which is the Forest Lodge, and that's where I take my mini split from. And in my guide here it says that the area of as you cross Victoria Bridge and follow the old road past Forest Lodge, you enter the grounds of the Black Mount Lodge. The estate is owned by the Fleming family of James Bond fame and is still used for stalking and shooting. So there's a little bit of history of that. So the next little mini split goes from the gate to the Bar Bridge, which is 4.24 miles, and it involves 571 feet of climb and 98 feet of descent. Now for the next 2 miles, I would say it's a gentle gradual climb. The path's pretty wide. It's on like almost a cobbly path for a bit, and then it goes a more sort of even path, and it's pretty wide, say 3 or 4 breaths quite easily. But you're gradually climbing. I don't know what the top guys do. Maybe they run this, but I know I don't. And it's given me a chance to sort of get something to eat and just to keep moving and try and walk as fast as I can. As you get near to the top, there's a forest on your right, and then once you've gone past that, you're almost at the top, and then you're out onto the Black Mount and then the Rannoch Moor. And so once you get to the very top, again the path stays quite wide most of the way, and it can be quite rocky, but there's often a little grassy bit just to the side of the path which is great to run on. And so for the next 2 miles you've got an undulating path all the way to Bar Bridge. And again, I would say if you're running well, then you're able to run all the flats and the downhills, and the uphills try and walk as fast as you can. Again, the top guys that are running it in 14-15 hours and quicker, then I'm sure they're running it all. But I know when I've been run about just under 20 hours, I've basically tried to run all the flats and all the downs and walk as fast as I can on the ups. And certainly it's an opportunity to keep moving at a decent pace over that time. Then you get to Bar Bridge, and that's my next mini split, and it's very obvious there. It's quite a big bridge with quite a big stream underneath, and it's slightly in a dip, so if the weather's really bad it does give you a little bit of respite from that. But then once you pass that, then you're on to the last split, which goes from there to the checkpoint, which is 3.34 miles, and you've got quite a shortish climb straight out of Bar Bridge, and then it goes down and round, and there's a forest on your left, and then you go down again, and then there's a big long climb up to the very top. And again, it must be a good mile or so, if not more, and you can see appearing in the distance where you're having to go. If there's runners ahead of you, they probably look like little dots in the distance, but you'll soon get there. And again, that's something which I would I walk all the way up there. Again, I'm not sure what the quicker guys do, but certainly it's a good long walk up there to get to the top. It's on quite a rocky path. When you get to the top, it's very obvious you've made it to the top, because then you start going down pretty quickly, and there's a lovely run down there for about 1.5 miles then into the checkpoint. And again, if your quads are good and you've paced it well, then hopefully you're able to run most of that way all the way down. Now, in the past we stayed on the West Highland Way path, and the checkpoint was in King's House Hotel, but over the last number of years, I can't remember how long, we've used the Glencoe Ski Lodge. So there's a big sign off to your left. We often put a West Highland Way sign as well, just to make sure you don't miss it, and you cut across basically for about 400 yards or so, maybe a bit more, over a small path, over a little stream, onto the road, up to the left, and then that's where the checkpoint is. And Alan Kay, who's a stalwart of the West Highland Way race, he's done it a number of times. He featured in the closing distance race, and he has a big red ambulance which he has there, or mountain rescue sort of vehicle, and that's the checkpoint right at the start of the car park. And your checkpoint will have your checkpoint team, support team, will have loads of room there. There's a cafe that support teams can get things to eat, and you can have a bit of a break there. But that's the route, and that route from Bridge of Orchy to the Glencoe Ski Lodge is 10.74 miles, includes just over 1,000 feet of climb and 452 feet of descent. And when you get here, you've now completed 70.07 miles according to my splits, which means that you've got about 24 miles to go, so less than a marathon to go. And we'll look at the next part next time, and that'll take us from Glencoe to Kinloch.